Hey everybody, this morning, which is actually a cool morning, I am in one of my favorite spots on the far east side of Indianapolis. I'm in Paul Rooster Park, and this place here is not very well known, and it is super cool. And I feel like it's a really good place to show as an example of one of the most surprising things about Indiana in general and Indianapolis area, and especially certain parts of Indiana that absolutely look a lot like this. So we're going to talk about the surprising look of Indiana and just how lush and green it is and how that shocks people whenever they visit. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Indianapolis, what Indianapolis looks like, what Indiana looks like in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. Now, we have people reaching out to us from all over the country with all kinds of questions about Indiana and Indianapolis and the cities and towns that surround Indianapolis. So if you have questions at all, don't hesitate. Don't be afraid to reach out, email, text, call, any of those ways that you know how to do. And we'll always have your back with those questions. And we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move to the Indy Metro. All right, again, I'm in Paul Rooster Park, and this is a park that is an absolute gem on the far east side of Indianapolis. 82 acres, small fishing pond, obviously walking trails, hiking trails. I wouldn't call this hardcore hike, but trails nonetheless. Dog park, sledding hill. Most people in Indianapolis don't even know this place exists. But the reason I'm coming through here is because this is a place I think that surprises a lot of people who have never been to Indiana. So if you're from the Midwest, you're probably not gonna be so surprised, but if you're from, let's say, the West Coast, or you're from someplace in the desert and you're used to generally a pretty different landscape, or even in the Pacific Northwest, or even places like Wyoming, Colorado, the landscape obviously is different, but most people think that a place like Indiana is just 100% flat and 100% farmland, and that's just about all you're gonna get. And it's just not true. Most people, when they come to Indianapolis, Indiana, this creek right here is a pretty good example of a lot of the landscape that you're gonna see. You're gonna see bodies of water, you're gonna see streams, lakes, and rivers. Not everywhere. You will absolutely, especially when you're flying in, see farmland, and it's gonna look like it's flat. But when you get on the ground, a lot of it can be flat. I mean, we gotta be completely, we're comparing apples to oranges, talking about this comparing to a place like Colorado, western Colorado getting in the Rockies. No, it's not like that. But for the Midwest and this part of the Midwest, you can find some terrain. You can find some hills. But more than that, because it's not overly hilly, you actually have to get into southern Indiana in places like Brown County or Monroe, Forest there, and all of the open land that you have through there, that is extremely wooded and extremely hilly for the Midwest for sure. And when I say extremely hilly, again, not mountainous, but could you have a couple thousand feet or so of elevation change where you're on a mountain bike? You definitely could. When you're hiking, absolutely you could. You will absolutely encounter some downhills, you'll encounter some uphills. Without a doubt, you can get into some hardcore hiking in that area. But places like this, when you get on the ground and you start exploring, people are really surprised at how green and lush Indiana and the whole Indianapolis area really is. There are a lot more trees than what people realize. There's a lot more streams, rivers, lakes, bodies of water than what people realize. And the grass is greener than what people realize. You have to remember our weather here is actually pretty good for growing grass. We do get some hot summers. July, August are typically our hottest. Usually we don't get long droughts. We do get thunderstorms, we do get rain, and over the course of the entire year, we get about 42 inches of rain. And that's actually more rain than a lot of rainy cities in the country, like Seattle. We get more rain than what Seattle does. I mean, not by much. We're talking very close, but let's say it's even equal. We're not known as a rainy city, yet Seattle is. The thing about Seattle is that it's really spread out. You're gonna have a lot of days of just measurable rain, where you get just a scant amount maybe in the morning, and then the rest of the day it doesn't rain. Here, we have systems that come through, and we get thunderstorms, and we might get a quarter of an inch of rain in a day, or half an inch of rain in a day, or sometimes even more than that, sometimes an inch or inch and a half in a day or two. So that of course adds up over the course of the year to about 42 inches, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But the temperature is also pretty moderate. We do have a harsh winter, we've got a cold one, we've got a pretty warm summer, but those are the absolute extremes, and everything in the middle is really conducive for greenery and having things being very lush. Now right now, it's the fall when this video is being shot, so this isn't gonna look like this for a whole lot longer. All of these leaves are gonna change, they're gonna turn colors. This whole area here will be beautiful in mid-fall when we start to get to that peak of the colors, and then they'll all fall, and this will all be not dead looking, but dead looking almost. And we have to wait until the spring until it all comes back again. So if you're visiting Indianapolis and you visit during the summer or a time like this, you're gonna be really surprised if you've never been to the Midwest at how green and lush everything really is. But then it may be a good time to come in the winter to see it then too. If you're making multiple visits to the area, trying to figure out where you wanna be, sometimes it's good to be here in different seasons. I always tell people that if you're here in the winter, if you're looking at a house, or if you're looking at just the general landscape, it's gonna be the ugliest that it can possibly be in the winter. It can only get better from there. Because if you're seeing it in the spring, summer, or fall, you could be catching it at its peak at what it looks like when it's absolutely beautiful. So people want to see it, of course, when it looks really nice, but people also want to see the bad, or I want to know what it's going to be when it's just not in good shape, when everything is pretty ugly, and see if that's going to be for me. And personally, me, I kind of like it when it's a little bit ugly sometimes in the winter, because then when it gets like this, you get a pretty deep sense of appreciation for it. There is nothing in the world, let me tell you, if you've never experienced it, going through the winter, and then in late winter, when we start to get some of these days that pop up into the 50s or 60s, if it's been in the 30s or 20s for a long period of time, and then out of nowhere you get a day where it's 60 degrees and sunny, that is an amazing, amazing day. It feels incredible whenever that happens. It smells different, it looks different, it just feels different. It's incredible. And then the days start to get a little bit better from there, and then of course all of the greenery starts to come out once we get into really kind of the mid-spring or so, once we get past some of the last frosts and all of that. But yeah, this is a big tree that has fallen. Definitely some big trees going through here. This has happened many, many times where people have been so surprised at what Indiana actually looks like whenever they get here for a visit. And I think you probably would be too if you've never seen it. So don't hold Indiana, Indianapolis, really anywhere in the Midwest for that matter, even places like Illinois, Ohio. You might think, it's just all farmland. No, it's not. There's more in a lot of these states than what you could possibly imagine. You just have to come see it to believe it. So if you have questions about any of these places and what they might look like, how they might fit you, then make sure you reach out any way that you know how, and we'll catch you in the next one.